Hey, what's up?
Hi.
We're here.
Hi. Gonna go.
Do you want to go to the park?
Yay! My favorite hangout.
I'm also excited.
Of the entire game.
It's pretty good.
Oh my god.
He is pretty great.
Yeah, he is. He is very, very great. He's also so blatantly Scott Benson's insert sometimes.
Sometimes.
Not all the time, but it's definitely...
In other aspects, it's also Greg, and also aspects of B.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, they're basically... it's basically the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. But, you know, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't know. It's just... The one, like... I mean, I will definitely say that Angus is a lot less furious than Scott is a lot of the time. So...
Well, I mean... Angus doesn't live... Angus was pre the political disasters of our modern world, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You know, that's one thing I've noticed that's honestly made honestly, one of the things that's made these last few years really tough isn't just that we are in a political hellscape of which we have... There is a possible end, but we have to be working really fucking hard to get past it. But it's basically dialed every one of my idols who I respect their political opinions up to 11 to a point where it actually makes me kind of uncomfortable.
It's like it's exhausting, but I understand that you have to, you know?
I mean, I understand why they're doing it. But I also feel like they are, it's hard to feel like you are doing enough when the way that they talk about things basically never makes it feel like you'll ever do good enough, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't like that kind of thing, honestly. I don't know, it's... I'm all for people voicing their views, especially if they're not, especially, because I'm a democratic socialist. I definitely live outside of the main political wisdom of both the Democratic and Republican Party.
Did you just say the word wisdom in that sentence? Because I don't think that belongs there.
I mean, you know what I mean. The wisdom not in the sense that they actually are smart, but just in the sense of their collective thoughts, their whole little thing. Like, you could be very wise about really dumb things, you know? But anyways, but at the same time, I don't know. I hesitate to say stuff like, oh, they're demanding ideological purity or something like that, you know, or anything, because I don't think that's true, because that's a bit of going extreme, but it definitely does feel like it's harder to not feel like you are doing not great because of how much it just feels like there's nothing you can do that can fix anything. And I don't necessarily subscribe to that thought. I don't. It's shitty and tough, but I mean, things do eventually get better.
God, I hope so.
I don't know, maybe that's just me, part of it is just I mean, we'll talk a little bit more about it when near the end of the game, but like I said near the beginning, that while there are definitely very apocalyptic tones to this game, I tend to view this as more of an optimistic cultural change kind of thing, as opposed to an actual end-of-the-world type of scenario, which I think is, which is why I really enjoy this game, and I think that's why I think it's more about, I consider it more about a cultural change that is inevitable and bracing for it, and that's what I think is good.
Yeah, definitely. It's very much refreshing in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this spot right here between that part and this part, there would be a section in the game where you would find those letters from those like weather vane things.
So those things I didn't know you could interact with. Yes.
Yeah. That's when the actual there'll be like a little section in the woods where you can find the letters and then look over them and stuff.
Hmm. I learned about sea creature bones being limestone today in my science lab class.
Great.
We had to identify rocks because the class I'm taking is Earth Science Lab, which is like, what do you do for that?
I learned that when I watched Bill Nye the Science Guy when I was like 8.
So the NJIT lab manual had a 14-step process to identify 12 rocks, which I thought was a little weird.
I mean, I guess that could be important to know, especially if you want to make sure you find the right kind of stone for whatever reason, and also know when a foundation is on like a rock space that's actually like sound. Like if you don't want to be building a bunch of stuff above a shelf of limestone, because if that erodes really quickly, you're basically living upon a sinkhole, really.
Here's what I want out of this course. I want my 4 science credits so that I can get my degree.
Okay, fair enough. That's fair.
Yeah. So you give me a box of rocks and I tell you what they are and I write it down, and that was my assignment for the day, and that's totally fine.
Also, this is the section that is a reference to the first supplemental game, which is the Lost... Oh, not Lost... Damn it. I always get that. Longest Night. It's the Longest Night one.
Yes, the one that is very, very different from the rest of everything.
Yeah, because it was literally something they made 4 months after the Kickstarter ended. In just a month. But yeah, it's a neat little proof of concept. They actually just recently released all of the supplemental games that have been made so far, because apparently there is supposed to be one more. On both the console versions. Actually, all the console versions, because the Switch version of this
and the PC version also, which is how I'm playing this. It's in there.
Yeah. Like, and that's pretty nice. Those games were technically free, but I did pay for both of them, which was, but they're actually really, like, I got the Switch version night once, and generally I think it's pretty rad. But my one real complaint is that is only because of how the controls are for a similar mini game to like the one for what is it, the oh my god, Longest Night. If I think about it too hard, I'm gonna say the wrong one every single time. But Longest Night, you can actually I was stuck there on that freaking mini game because when you try moving the thumbsticks and pressing the A button, which is supposed to start to make a line, it'll just immediately cancel out.
That's weird.
Yeah, the only way you could actually beat that, and it took me a little while to actually figure it out, is if I go to the touchscreen version. And you actually can, and then because the Switch has a touchscreen, so you can use that little touchscreen to connect the dots. So I feel like that they've more or less just ported what they thought that was going to happen for a Vita version of it, and didn't think about, oh wait, some people might be just playing on this other consoles and not have access to a touchscreen.
On the
Switch.
No, first of all, nobody puts out Vita games anymore. That's done.
But there was, isn't there a Vita version of Night in the Woods?
To my knowledge, no.
There was supposed to be one. That was one pitched very early on.
Yeah, if there is, I don't know about it.
Yeah, well, I don't know. But my point is that that's the only, it was a clearly wasn't play tested as much as the other parts of the game for the Switch version, which kind of sucks. But it's still, you could still beat it. You just have to play it outside of docked mode, which
That's unfortunate, because my Switch is in the dock 90% of the time.
Yeah, exactly. I very rarely ever take my Switch out and about, honestly. I know.
I got a Pro Controller, my dock's hooked up to my capture card, I'm good.
Yeah, exactly. I don't really need to take it out and about, because pretty much all the stuff I want to play is probably better on a bigger screen anyway, so... But, you know, it's just, It's my one thing I think is kind of just not great.
Yeah, and also, I routinely forget that the Switch even has a touchscreen.
Yeah, because you don't really need it, honestly, 90% of the time. Though apparently it's good for the port for The World Ends With You, they're going to actually utilize that touchscreen, apparently, so...
Yeah, I was just about to mention that. I'm like, yeah, I saw that, and I was like, wait, how are they gonna... Oh, right, the Switch does have a touchscreen, I forgot.
And there's also apparently, like, a mode that uses, like, the Joy-Cons in, like, a motion control kind of way, which I'm not sure how that's going to work,
If
but...
it's Tin Pin Slammer, I'm going to cry. Sounds horrible.
Well, no, it's the whole game. The whole game uses can use the nunchucks and stuff. Like, you have to kind of trace the screen with, like, the pointers and stuff.
Oh, so, like, the gestures you would do on the DS screen, you just do them in the air with the Joy-Con?
I guess. I don't know. I haven't seen enough of it, so I couldn't say.
Weird.
So, we're talking about Switch ports while Angus talks about how abusive his family was to him. Yeah.
Let's go fuck shit up, man.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. God, that part where Angus goes, yeah, a lot of kids had luckier than I did, or rather, no, I was luckier than a lot of kids, kind of thing. Even though his situation is horrific, rings very true from speaking as someone who has definitely come from some forms of abuse.
Yup.
Yeah. So this whole segment is very good and actually made me cry.
So I think after this segment is when I was like, well shit, now I gotta just sit down and play the game to the end.
Yeah. And I honestly do really agree with Angus's personal philosophies here, that humans are just really good at finding patterns. We're pattern finders, and I don't believe there is a god, but I do believe in people, basically. You know, like it's like I don't believe in a universe that cares, but people that do, and I think that's a very honest philosophy that I do kind of live by, honestly.
Yeah, it's a good way to be.
Ruh-roh. It's a spooky dinosaur ghost. That's what I was kind of thinking it would look like to me.
See, I kind of got that vibe at first, and then shortly after realized, oh, that's probably like a mining helmet.
I actually didn't think about that, and I only just thought of that right when you said that. It never occurred to me that it was a mining helmet. All I see is a really crookedy kind of like snout with a tiny mouth that looks like a lizard mouth or something.
So, like, I also see that, but then I remember, oh, right, this is supposed to be set in a mining town. Mining helmet.
Yeah, but it's also a town full of animal people, so snout.
Mining snout.
A mining snout. Ooh, it'd be actually pretty nice if they were all moles. Molemen. Mole people.
That'd be weird.
It'd be funny, though. That's the key to comedy right there. Instead of just having a joke, you just say, but that would be funny, wouldn't it?
Would it?
Maybe, mildly. because ghosts don't exist. That's why, May.
You don't know that.
I mean,
at this point in the game,
I believe there are really crazy, well, not crazy, but really powerful janitor gods that control the woods, but I don't believe in ghosts.
Yeah, for sure.
That's just being logical, honestly. I mean, we've actually seen the janitor.
Yeah.
God, I'm really wanting a Bless This Mess, embroidery to hang in my house. Like, unironically. Well,
man, I've gotta take a picture of this thing we got. So when I was growing up, my grandmother had this thing in her kitchen that said this. It was like this really long thing that read, "This home is clean enough to be healthy, dirty enough to be happy," and some other stuff, and it's like 5 lines.
Huh.
So we just have it now. It's just like in our kitchen now.
Well, I mean, there's a my father had this like blue banner, Japanese banner that he had hung in his house like all his life. Like he at first it was in his room, and then when he moved out, it was just in his house. And he basically like held on to this basically all of his life. And for the longest time, I had no idea what it was. Because I just really liked how the characters look. Like it looked really, really neat. And it was very iconic for me as a child. Then as an adult, my father tells me like when I was like in middle school that what it was is that he used to live in Japan, and he lived with like one of his other American friends when he was there, and one of the things they did is they saw these banners for like a national book day all around the streets, and they decided to steal one of them and keep it.
Nice.
That's all it is.
Crimes.
The only other thing that I think is kind of funny that like my father also left me a Tanuki piggy bank, which he got in Japan, which I still have. I have in my house, and it took me until basically I was an adult to realize, oh wait, he has giant balls.
Oh, like the Tanuki thing.
Yeah, like the Tanuki thing. Oh, there's the little vampire teeth in the snowshoe.
Yes, and the Glendenhorn.
Oh yeah.
And the hockey pennant.
Oh yeah. That's actually really neat. Oh, it's this part.
Yup. I feel like this part never really gets explained any better than it is here.
Yeah, I mean,
like I know it's a dream sequence, but come on.
I mean, it's kind of just trying to encapsulate a certain philosophy that Nightingale's kind of encapsulates. Like, it doesn't need necessarily an explanation as much as it is just, hey, this is kind of how this world works, in a way. And I don't know. I definitely don't take any of this necessarily literally. Though I do, like, it basically is just kind of like a nihilistic kind of view of, like, gods and the universe and everything. And kind of Elder Gods kind of feel, but I feel like it's less like try to be like a Lovecraftian kind of thing and more just I don't know. It's hard to necessarily interpret this in any sort of literal sense, honestly.
Yeah.
The one thing I don't get at all about Night in the Woods are those bug things. I do not fucking get those.
Yeah, that's mostly what I was referring to about this, is, I don't, like, they never come up again. I don't...
Well, no, they do come up again, but only as May is screaming at them after basically dying again near the very end.
Well...
And saying that she doesn't give a fuck about them, basically. And... Yeah, like, I don't... But honestly, I feel like taking anything literally in terms of, like, any of the Elder Gods or Apocalypse stuff kind of is missing the point. I don't think any of this is real at all. I think this is mainly just May's own personal manifestations of her mental illnesses that are basically destroying her from the inside out. And the whole point of this game is her basically learning to cope and grow up with them. And that's kind of how I take a lot of this.
Yeah.
Like, this is basically just the kind of things you think about when you are severely depressed and basically have no direction in life, which is definitely a thing I have been through.
Yup. I think everybody can agree that they've all had at least a little bit of that.
Yeah, but I mean, like, specifically if you have depression, which, yes, Scott has, and so do I. So, yes, I get this.
Yes. Bye, everybody.
Oh, bye. Oh, okay. Now goodbye.
I do it to death. You ain't never wanna fall so fast. Your face get cracked and maybe it all goes black. All that's an expected effect when I contact. Cause I do it to it, I do it to it, I do it to death. Ladies, punch another lady in the face, you heard? Fellas, get a job, yo. Ladies, punch another lady in the face, you heard? Fellas, get a job, yo. Ladies.